What is going on, guys and gals? Brooklyn-bound the Raid Scientist here, and today we've got a full walkthrough and guide to the reprised Destiny 2 version of Vault of Glass. We're going to break down each encounter, subclass options, weapon loadouts, hidden chests, and more. If you aren't yet subscribed, please consider if you enjoy the video, learn something, or even find it helpful. It's totally free, and it'll get you connected to the channel for all the guides, including the challenges and triumphs for the Vault of Glass 2.0. Alright, let's jump right into it then. When you launch the raid from the new Legends tab on the Director, you'll spawn in what used to be the patrol area of Venus, but is now your own private instance. The entrance area is pretty straightforward and relatively easy. I'd suggest ad clearing style supers, a ranged weapon like a scout or a pulse, and really any heavy will do the trick. The goal of the encounter is to hold the 3 plates in the area. There's one on the left side, one in the middle, and one on the right. And you need to hold them for a long enough time so that the large spire in the back of the room forms completely. It's best to just split your group up into 3 pairs, 2 people at each plate area. Now, to progress, you have to maintain control of the sync plates, meaning you have to have one person at least stay in the plate for most of the fight. You can get off them from time to time in a pinch to grab ammo or kill some enemies, but you need to get back right away to maintain control of it. While you hold the plate, waves of Vex will be spawning from all sides. You'll get hobgoblins and regular goblins along with Praetorian Minotaurs. Keep the Minotaurs and the remaining adds, for that matter, off the plates and use supers, heavies, and whatever you can to kill everything. Every 30 seconds or so, a new Cyclops will also spawn in each area, so be sure to burn them down fast when they spawn as well, because their Void Blast can take you down relatively quickly. Rotate supers and burn through the adds long enough until the spire forms completely and the door to the vault opens. You'll be rewarded a chest, and this is actually the first secret chest, quote unquote, meaning it'll only reward you Spoils of Conquest, Vault of Glass specific raid mods, and any weapon or armor that you've already collected. Now, you'll head down through a series of caves to the second secret chest. You'll arrive at this ledge, and you can drop down below, turn around, and enter a hidden opening underneath. Then, just follow the path on screen to the next chest, and then you'll make your way down to the first major area of this raid. Now, once you get down here, this room you're going to want to get familiar with, as you're going to be doing the next 3 encounters here. The first of which is Defend the Confluxes. For weapons, you're going to want overload rounds on at least one weapon. Heavy, things like Xenophage, Anarchy, or even Lament or Falling Guillotine are very good, and Witherhoard is also a very good option to lay on the ground around where the enemy spawns. For subclasses, there really isn't anything you need, as there's no boss here. So roaming supers are great, stasis is good, even things like Nova Bomb and Thunder Crash and Golden Gun are great on the Wyverns and the Minotaurs. There are 3 phases to defend the Confluxes. Phase 1, there is 1 Conflux in the back center of the room. Phase 2, there is 1 Conflux on the left and the right, and in Phase 3 there are 3 Confluxes, 1 left, 1 middle, and 1 on the right. The overall goal is to keep the Vex from sacrificing at them. So, you'll be clearing waves of adds as a team and keeping them off. The only other mechanic you really need to know is that the Fanatics, upon death, will drop electric pools on the ground, which are very bad. If you accidentally walk into one of them, you will get marked for negation. And you'll notice the Templar does a negation ritual every 30 seconds or so. So if you are marked when he does this, you're dead. So, you got to remove the debuff. Well, in order to remove the debuff, you can jump down in the bright lit well at the bottom of the stairs in the middle of the room, and it will cleanse you. If multiple people get marked for any reason, coordinate it so you go in the pool together, because using the pool will cause it to disappear for a little while before respawning. Alright, so for phase 1, like I said, most of the adds will spawn in the middle steps, and some spawning on the left and the right, and you're basically going to keep clearing adds. Then, Near the end, one wyvern will spawn in the middle, and then one overload minotaur. Once the Templar has then summoned his legions, which is extra adds, you'll clear all the enemies, and then you'll move into Phase 2. This is where the Confluxes split. Try to avoid going down the steps in the middle unless you're literally out of ammo, as there will be fanatic pools everywhere, and you could get marked. Now, in Phase 2, you want to split 3 people to the left side and 3 people to the right side to now cover the 2 Confluxes that have split. Have one person from each side kind of pay attention to the adds in the middle as well, that way they don't get behind you. As you defend the Confluxes, you will get a wave with 2 wyverns, one on the left side and one on the right side, and then a second wave with 2 wyverns, one on the left and one on the right, and then finally a wave with 2 overload captains, again, one on the left and one on the right. After those enemies, wyverns, and overloads are all dead, you'll enter the final phase with all 3 Confluxes. Now, you definitely want to split your team up into 2 players left, 2 right, and 2 covering the middle. Clearing adds, avoiding fanatic pools, and you're going to get a similar pattern of wyverns and overloads spawning at each conflux area. First, a wave of 3 wyverns, 1 at each conflux, then another wave of 3 wyverns, and then finally a wave of 3 overloads. After everything is dead, and you've successfully not let too many Vex sacrifice at the confluxes, the encounter will finally end and you'll get your loot. Check the description down below for a loot table to see what drops you can get from each encounter. Now, you're going to move on into the Oracles encounter. For this, I highly recommend Xenophage if you have it, as it one-shots the Oracles and the Hobgoblin snipers. For players that are focusing on the Hobgoblins, things like sniper rifles and scout rifles are great additions. For players focusing on Minotaurs and Oracles and minor enemies, shotguns and ad-clearing weapons are also very good. For subclasses, again, just roaming supers and ad-clearing setups. Healing rifts and titan walls, or maybe even a well of radiance or a bubble, can be very helpful to avoid dying to the Hobgoblin snipers. It's best to have maybe 3 people focusing on Oracle callouts and destroying Oracles, and having 3 other people focusing on all the Hobgoblin snipers and the adds. In between Oracle waves, you can assist as necessary, but this is how I found the most success. The goal of this encounter is to destroy all the Oracles. There will be 5 waves of Oracles in total, starting with 3 Oracles and going up to 7 Oracles in the final wave. The key here is you have to destroy them in the order that they spawn. So you have to have your team spread out so collectively you can see them all and call them out in the order that they spawn. I'm not going to lie, having a scrap paper or using PC chat really isn't a bad idea here if you're kind of struggling with this. The Oracles will spawn in the sequence you need to destroy them twice, so you have a chance to see the order. Then, all of the Oracles will spawn together to be destroyed. My recommendation is to just number them as you see on screen. You can number them or call them whatever you want, but for me, just a single number is the easiest thing to remember. As they spawn, shout out the number as you see it so you can get the sequence. Then, when you're ready to destroy them, call out the numbers as you're shooting them so people know which one to destroy next. Another strategy, if you don't like that one, is to literally split everyone up and focus on 1 Oracle each, and then just shout out where yours is in the spawn order and destroy them that way. The Oracles do make a specific tone at each spawn point, so if you practice enough, you may be able to recognize each one based on its tone. But likely that will take many attempts before you even have it memorized. Either way you do it, if you shoot them out of order or too slowly, you will get marked for negation. And together, as in a team, you need to go to the middle pool and cleanse yourselves. You need to do this quickly because the Templar who is still present and immune will do his negation ritual at the same time like the last encounter, and anyone who doesn't cleanse during this will die. If you miss an Oracle or shoot one in the wrong order, thus getting marked, you will also need to repeat that wave of Oracles again. So you can't progress further by missing Oracles. However, while keeping track of the Oracles as you get to the later stages of the encounter can be tricky, the biggest annoyance of this encounter is probably the Hobgoblin snipers that will spawn out on the ledges. You need to take them out to keep up with them, as they hurt and they can take you down relatively fast. And that's really it. Once you've successfully cleared out 5 waves of Oracles all in the correct order, the encounter will end and you will be rewarded with another chest. Now, you will enter the final phase of this room, which is facing off against the Templar himself. For subclasses, you're going to want to have one Titan on Bubble and one Warlock on Well of Radiance, because those are both greatly beneficial to boosting your damage against the Templar. Warlock should pair Well of Radiance with Lunafaction Boots to boost reload and range for everyone, but if you have a plethora of Warlocks and Titans, I'd recommend having the rest of them run DPS supers like Nova Bomb, Chaos Reach with Geomag Stabilizers, and Titan Yeet aka Thunder Crash with Curse of the Falling Star. For weapons, Anarchy with double slug shotguns is the current meta at this time, especially if you have high weapon dexterity and can swap them quickly. Otherwise, things like Xenophage or Sniper Rifles with Vorpal Weapon or other heavy meta weapons are pretty much going to do the trick as well. He really doesn't have a ton of health, so DPS really shouldn't be much of an issue. The goal here is to obviously destroy the Templar. So, how do you do that? Well, down at the bottom of the steps, where the cleansing well is, or was, will be a floating shield called the Relic. Picking it up will start the encounter. The Relic will appear in later encounters as well, so it's best to learn how to use it now. Whoever has the Relic can attack with a light attack or a jump and slam attack. Doing so will charge the Relic's super ability a little faster. In addition, the Relic can do a cleanse ability which puts a bubble up around everyone, and the cleanse acts as a banner shield which blocks incoming damage as well. Next, as I mentioned, once you charge your super bar, you can also do a super attack as well. This will launch a powerful projectile of light from the shield towards any target. Finally, and most importantly, the Relic cannot be dropped on the ground for too long, or the entire team will wipe. So at any point the Relic holder dies, the Relic must be picked up in about 6 seconds. This is also the same if the Relic holder intentionally drops the Relic on any purpose to use their weapon or ability in any way. They will have to re-pick it up very quickly to risk not wiping the team. The Templar fight has two main parts that are independent of one another: destroying the Oracles and damaging the boss. When the Relic is picked up, the fight will start and enemies will start spawning around the map. Focus on clearing the Harpies and the Fanatics, still being sure you don't walk through their pools of electricity, or you'll again get marked for negation and die if you don't cleanse. Then, just like the last encounter, Oracles will start spawning in a random order. This time, only 3 will spawn. You once again have to destroy them in the order that they spawn, so make sure your team is spread out so you can see them all and call them out. Remember that if you destroy them out of order, everyone in your team will get marked for negation and will all need to go to the middle very quickly and cleanse. Then, you'll need to repeat the Oracles again. Keep in mind, this whole time, the Templar will be in the middle of the room and can hit you much easier this time, so watch out for him and he will be immune. Once all 3 Oracles have been destroyed, in the proper order, you will have a window of time to damage the Templar before the next round of Oracles spawn. At this point, the Relic holder should have a fully charged super. Have your team group up in a pre-designated DPS location and drop your Well of Radiance and bubbles to prepare for damage. Then, the Relic holder will use this super attack on the Templar, breaking his immunity shield and allowing you to damage him. Bust out as much damage as you can at this point. Very important, the Templar will randomly detain players as well. Unlike Destiny 1, you cannot shoot yourself out, so if you do get detained, the remaining players need to shoot you out, so call out where you are if you do. Now, at this point you have a decision to make. You can extend the DPS window, spawn in some additional adds and get some more damage on him, or you can keep the DPS short and spawn no additional adds. To do this, you'll notice that during DPS, you'll see a ring of light emitting from it at different locations on the map. This identifies the location the Templar is going to teleport to. However, if one person stands inside that ring before the Templar teleports, it'll prevent him from teleporting and extend the DPS window as I mentioned. It'll also spawn in some Minotaurs and additional adds. He will try to teleport multiple times, so you can block it multiple times and keep extending this DPS window. Honestly, if you have a Warlock or 2 with Well of Radiance and Healing Rifts, I'd highly recommend just blocking as many teleports as you can, thus extending DPS and being able to possibly destroy him in one phase. If you DPS him fast enough, the ads he spawns really shouldn't be much of an issue. However, if you want to play it safe, you don't have to. It'll just make the fight a little longer. Here is a map of all the 5 Templar teleport locations he can go to. If you're going to block the teleports, it's probably best to have the relic holder and maybe one other player dedicated to paying attention to this. That way everybody else can just focus on DPS. Remember that if you don't get to the teleport spot in time to block it, he will teleport there and the DPS phase will end. If DPS ends, he will go immune at that spot that he teleported to, and you will not be able to finish him off. You'll then need to spread back out, clear ads, and then watch out for fanatic pools and get ready for another wave of oracles and repeat everything all over again. As I mentioned at the beginning, the oracles and the Templar DPS are not necessarily tied together, meaning if you take a long time to get ready for DPS after oracles because you have some deaths or you need to get ammo or something, oracles can actually start respawning again. So make sure you start your DPS phases right after oracles are done. Keep plugging away at the Templar until he finally falls. You can collect your loot and finally move to the new area. Now, there are 2 ways down to the next area. You can drop down through the large open vault door in the back middle of the room, or you can take the hidden tunnel that is entered on the left side of the map as shown. They both end up in the same spot. So if you're not collecting the shards for the Chatterwhite, aka Bitter Pearl shader, then there's really no point in taking the caves on the left, so you can just drop down the middle. It is a long drop, so be careful not to break your legs on the landing. When you finally make it to the bottom, you'll have entered the Gorgon's Labyrinth. The goal here is to just escape out without getting spotted or wiped by the Gorgons. However, there is a secret chest in here which I will show you how to get. Skip to the timestamp on the screen if you want to just see how to get out. Remember, if you're getting the chest or just trying to escape, you cannot be spotted by the Gorgons. If they detect you, you have about 5 seconds until everyone dies. The Gorgons can be killed, but it's very difficult, so just try not getting spotted at all. When you spawn in, you'll notice that the river heads off into a cave system on the right. If you enter the cave and follow the right wall as on screen, you will come to a door that is closed. If you want the chest, you will need to open this door. To do this, you have to shoot and destroy 3 hidden boxes throughout the labyrinth in order to open it. Once you open the door, it'll stay open even in the event you get spotted or wipe, FYI. So, on screen I'll show where the 3 boxes are. The first one can be seen by climbing on the rock wall just to the left of where the spawn is and shooting across the map. The second box is hidden under a ledge. If you follow the path on screen, you'll find it near the middle of the map. And then finally, the last box, if you're standing up on this rock by the exit, drop down to the left and head to the back, and it's up in the air around this rock. Once all 3 are destroyed, it'll say a door has opened, allowing you to claim the chest. And as I said, if you get spotted or wipe after the door has been opened, it'll stay open so you can go get the chest easily, so don't worry. Now, how do you escape? Well, there is really no right or wrong way to get out, ultimately. The goal is to just get to the hidden opening at the end of the labyrinth. So, you can take any path you want, really, just stay out of sight. If you have a hunter, I highly recommend just crutching on in the invis smokes so you can get through this faster. It isn't required, but it does make things significantly easier. Follow the path on screen to get out. You'll head off to the left by hiding behind this rock, wait for the Gorgon to pass, and then carefully run up to the top of this rock. Be careful not to double jump too high, as this will alert the Gorgons. Once you get to the top, you can jump across this ledge and then carefully jump again all the way over to this ledge. They can spot you up in the air too, so make sure there aren't any right below you when you do this. Now that you're here, off to the right down here is the escape hole. Wait for the Gorgon to pass by, drop down and head into this cave. You'll continue down through the cave until you get to this large open area with platforms that are appearing and disappearing. The goal is just to get down to the other side, and this is pretty easy. You can just jump on the first 3 or 4 platforms, and then you should be far enough out into the space that you can just jump over and down to this ledge. Continue across the ledge until it opens up on the right, and there's a final secret chest up at the top. Once you grab it, you can head to the large stone door to enter the next main area. As you enter this area, you will now be in the final arena. This arena has 2 encounters, with the last encounter being a face-off with Atheon times Conflux. But first, you'll need to beat the Gatekeepers encounter. For subclasses, you can really use anything. Defensive supers like Bubble and Well of Radiance are very helpful, especially if you're lower power or struggling to hold defending areas by yourself. However, offensive supers are also great here to clear out adds, wyverns, and champions. For weapons, you definitely need overload rounds for the Minotaurs. You'll want a good heavy weapon to take down wyverns and gatekeepers, and otherwise you just want some ad clearing weapons. The goal of this encounter is to prevent Vex from sacrificing at any of the confluxes, which progresses the encounter through its 2 different phases. Once defended long enough, the encounter will end. The first phase, there will be 2 confluxes inside the 2 portals on the left and right of the map to defend. In the second phase, there will be 1 conflux in the center of the main room to defend. Now, familiarize yourself with the portal opening mechanics, as you're going to need them to know for both this encounter and the next one. There are 2 portals on the left and right side of the map. There are also 2 circular plates behind those portals on the ground to the left and right side as well. Standing inside those plates on the ground for a long enough time will open the portal and allow people to travel through them. If the Vex take over that plate that you're standing in, the portal will then close, and you'll have to kill them and reclaim it to reopen it. The plates is also where the overload champions will spawn, so at any time you're going to be holding a plate, make sure you have overload rounds on. The left portal will take you to a desert-looking area that many call Mars or the future, and the right portal will take you to a jungle-looking area that many call Venus or the past. To set up for this fight, you'll want to pre-assign some starting roles. Note that this encounter is all about rotating positions, so wherever you start is just where you'll start. You'll end up somewhere else, likely as the encounter progresses. You'll need 1 player to go inside the left portal and defend the conflux in there, and you'll need 1 player to go inside the right portal and defend the conflux there. Then, you'll need 1 player to hold open the left portal on the plate, and another player to hold open the other portal by standing on the plate. Then, 1 player will be the initial relic holder, and the last person will be a floater, helper, or reviver if needed. Start the encounter by shooting some of the enemies, and you'll notice a large gatekeeper in the middle of the room. Destroy him, and then open both portals and send the defenders inside. The defenders must keep all of the adds from sacking at the confluxes that are inside the portals. Then, the relic holder will go up to the middle of the room and pick up the relic, and the plate-holding players will hold open the portals by standing in them. Now, another gatekeeper will spawn in the middle of the room, and they will continue to repeatedly spawn throughout the fight. You have to destroy them fast because when the gatekeepers are up, they disable the use of the portals. At this point, the players inside defending the confluxes will either get a giant yellow bar wyvern or a shielded minotaur called the Praetorian. The player who gets the Praetorian with the shield needs to call out which portal they are in, because the only person that can break its shield is the relic holder. The relic holder will enter the portal that has the shielded minotaur and go kill it. Now, At this point is when the rotation will need to start, because the relic holder entering through the portal will disallow you to travel through the portal again for another 45 seconds. So once that Minotaur is down, the relic holder will drop the relic on the ground, and then they will stay and defend the Conflux, while the other player that was defending the Conflux picks up the relic and then goes back outside the portal. Remember, the relic can only stay on the ground for about 6 seconds or so without being picked up, or the entire team will wipe. So this swap needs to be relatively fast. Once the relic holder is outside, they'll run over to the other portal and call out that they are dropping the relic, because again, they cannot travel into the next one because they have a debuff timer now too. So this player dropping the relic should instead hold the plate on that side, and the plate holding player will pick up the relic and head inside to kill the Minotaur that is now on that side. The Minotaur spawns always rotate, so once you know which portal gets the first one, you know that the next one will always spawn on the opposite side. And you'll basically rotate in this fashion for the entire first phase of the fight. Simply put, one player enters with a relic, kills the Minotaur, drops the relic, the other player picks it up, leaves with it, then drops it so another player can pick it up, goes inside the other portal, kills the Minotaur, drops it on the ground, the other player picks it up, swap, and repeat. You will need to keep repeating this until the 2 confluxes both in the portals will disappear and a tooltip on screen indicates that you have moved into the final phase. In the final phase, everyone should head back into the main room, as you will no longer need to be inside the portals. There will be one single conflux in the middle of the room, with enemies spawning in waves up the large staircase as well as on the left side and the right side of the room. The goal again is to just simply defend this conflux. You will get 3 more shielded Praetorians, starting first in the middle, then one on the right, and then one on the left. And finally, after those 3 shielded Praetorians are dead, you will get 3 yellow bar wyverns all at once from all 3 sides, and once they are dead, you will finish off the encounter. Once they're dead, the conflux disappears, and you'll be rewarded with the chest, and you'll be ready for the final encounter. Alright, so you've made it finally to the final boss of the Vault of Glass, Atheon, times Conflux. To prepare for this fight, you're going to want at least 1 Warlock on Well of Radiance and 1 Titan with Bubble for Weapons of Light. These will both boost your damage and survivability during the DPS phase. Remaining players should focus on burst DPS supers such as Thunder Crash with Curse of the Falling Star, Chaos Reach with Geomag Stabilizers, or Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk or Star Eater Scales. Having 1 Hunter on a tether isn't a bad idea either to debuff the boss if you aren't using a divinity or you don't have a seasonal debuff mod. For weapons, there are a ton of great options, so it really depends on your preference here. While you can get somewhat close using slug shotguns, Atheon does stomp, and this likely isn't recommended for newer teams. The safest option is to just have 1 person run Divinity, and then have everyone else run a good sniper rifle, preferably with Vorpal Weapon, or maybe even Xenophage. Also, things like Arc Pulse Grenades and Fusion Grenades are very good to have on for damage to the boss. When it comes to ad clear, having a decent Scout Rifle or Pulse Rifle is also recommended because there are many ads that are going to be at a long distance in the main room. Now, as you prepare for this encounter, you're going to need to understand all the mechanics, because the boss randomly decides who is going to be teleported and who is not. You should be very familiar with the room at this point because it's the same as the previous encounter, but recall that there are 2 portals, 1 left and 1 right. The one on the left we'll call Mars or Desert or Future, and the one on the right you'll call Venus or Past or just the right. The portals work as the same as the last encounter. Holding the plate adjacent to each portal will open it up. So, when the fight starts, Atheon will spawn in along with tons of harpies. Clear as many as you can before you see a tooltip on screen that Atheon opens up his time streams. At this point, he will randomly choose 3 people to get teleported into one of those 2 portals. And now, your team will be split. 3 people inside one of the portals and 3 people remaining in the main room. The goal here will be for the main room team to call out the oracles in a specific order, while the inside portal team shoots and destroys those oracles in the same order. So, if you're on the main room team that didn't get teleported, you will want one person to 100% focus on oracle callouts. Remember though, because Atheon randomly teleports 3 people, everyone will kind of need to know the callout locations, so make sure everyone gets on the same page with this. There will be 3 bright red oracles that spawn randomly in the air throughout the room, and you will need to call them out in the order that you see them for the inside portal team. Now, there are about 11,000,100 billion different ways you can number or call these oracles out. I recommend choosing assignments based on what is most comfortable for your team. The 2 most popular options are either numbering them 1 through 6 or using geographic locations such as front left, back right, front middle, etc. Here is a diagram of their order from the perspective of the entrance of the room. Just know that there are 6 possible oracle locations, but only 3 will spawn at a time. There will be 3 rounds of 3 oracles each to destroy, and like I said, each wave of 3 must be destroyed in the order that they spawn. So, the players remaining in the main room should focus on clearing the dozens of harpies and exploding supplicants that will push forward and swarm the plates in the portal areas. In addition, you'll need to open up the portal of which the 3 players were teleported to by holding it for a long enough time. It's helpful to stand up on these pillars to do so. If you are one of the 3 players teleported, you will get sent to one of the 2 portals, and you'll need to call out which one you were sent to so the team remaining in the main room knows which door to open so you can escape out. The goal for the teleported team is, like I said, to destroy those 3 waves of 3 oracles in the order they were called out. So, when you spawn in, there will be a relic right at the entrance and 1 player needs to pick it up immediately. Everyone should then push forward, throwing grenades and shooting to destroy the enemies down the steps as quickly as possible. Now, you can technically stand anywhere you want in this room to shoot oracles, but why not make it easy on yourself? If you run as on screen to the back of the room and then turn around, you will not only be relatively safe from most of the ads that start spawning, but you'll also be seeing the oracles from the exact same orientation the team in the main room is. And this simplifies the callouts and doesn't force you to have to turn around or look behind you or look straight up or anything. One final thing is that the entire time you are present in the portal, everyone will be marked by the void, and this is a debuff that will slowly turn your screen black so you can't see. The only way to remove this is to have the relic holder use that cleanse ability to reset it. Now, it doesn't remove the buff completely if you're still inside the portal, but it will reset your screen so you can see, and it can be done repeatedly the entire time. So basically, stand in the back, shoot the 3 waves of oracles, and keep re-cleansing so that everyone can see. After the 3rd wave is cleared, you will see a tooltip that Guardians make their own fate, and a timer called Time's Vengeance will start counting down from 30 seconds. At this point, the 3 portal players should jump over and escape out of the now open portal, and all 6 players will be together in the main room again. The relic holder should cleanse 1 final time as you exit the portal so nobody marked by the void anymore, and then group up for DPS. Because this 30-second timer is your DPS window, and as soon as the timer reaches 0, Atheon will become immune. So, escaping and setting up for DPS literally has to happen in a flash to maximize the time you have to damage the boss. Everyone should group up at a pre-designated spot for damage. I prefer to damage from the steps behind whichever portal you escaped from, but many also like to jump to this middle platform and damage it from here as well. It's really up to you. At this point, drop a Well of Radiance, maybe a bubble in the back, and go ham. Use your supers and heavy to burn him. you will notice that while Time's Vengeance is active, your grenades and supers recharge at a very, very fast rate. So if you have enough orbs on the ground from the well and maybe the bubble, you should be able to get 2 supers off on the boss if you do the first one early enough. Don't forget to apply whatever debuff you're using as well, whether it's a tether or divinity or maybe a seasonal artifact mod, depending on what season you're in. Now, during DPS, there is one mechanic that you have to pay attention to, and that's the detainment. One person will randomly get a timer on their screen that says imminent detain, and it's only 5 seconds. If you are the person that gets this, make sure you push forward and get away from your team, because you will become detained and anyone next to you will become trapped as well. If all 6 players get detained because you forgot to pay attention to this, you're gonna have to wipe. You cannot shoot yourself out of the detainment, only someone else not detained can free you. So call out where you are so they can get you out. Keep damaging, spamming grenades and supers until the Time's Vengeance timer reaches 0, and then Atheon will go immune, and the DPS window will end. At this point, turn around, watch out for remaining supplicants, and clear out as many ads as possible. Now, the entire process will repeat exactly the same. 3 players will randomly get teleported, oracles will need to call out and then destroyed, and then you can DPS again. You'll repeat this process until he finally falls. You get a total of 4 cycles before Atheon enrages, so you need to do about 25% of his health on average to finish him off. With some practice, decent weapons, subclasses, you should be able to kill him in 2 to 3 phases. Killing him off in 1 phase is possible, but very, very difficult to do. When he finally dies, you can run up the steps, collect your loot, and you can possibly cross your fingers for that Vex Mythoclast exotic fusion rifle. You can also interact with this relic statue to purchase spoil chests to give it different rolls on different weapons and armor. And that's it. Best of luck in getting this done, Guardians. If you have any questions or looking for some help, drop a comment down below and let me know. I stream regularly on Twitch, and I'm going to be doing Vault of Glass help as often as I can. We'll see you next time, Guardians. Thanks for watching.